Hey everyone, it's the Grumpy Meeple, and I am back with another in my Lazy Man's kind of or basic painting tutorial for Zombicide second edition, where we're using the quick shade method and some simple basing to crank these out as quickly as possible. So we've got all these shaded now, and really the last step is the second to last step, at least, is to finish the basing. So as you can see, I've done most of these already. And what I've done is just basically slap some thinned down basilicanum gray contrast paint from Citadel onto the bases here, onto the rocks, so that it looks vaguely rock-like. But I still have some models that I haven't done yet, and so I'm going to show you on those. So the way that I do that, grab my basilicanum gray Citadel contrast color. I love this stuff. Again, this contrast stuff, it's not the cheapest way to do this stuff. There are way cheaper ways to do this. This is my preferred method, and I find it to be pretty easy. If you only bought one contrast color, this would be the one that I would buy. This is the one that I'll buy like 3 bottles of at once, because I just love this stuff. I love the way it looks on terrain. You can use it. Sorry, guys. I'm trying a new camera setup, and I'm realizing now that it's probably going to introduce some shake. I'm just shaking it up a little bit. I've got an agitator in there. I love this basilicanum gray. It obviously for terrain, it's incredible. It just makes everything look kind of quite natural and realistic, I find, for stone type work. But also, like, you can use this for metallics. You can thin it down and put it over metallics to kind of, make them look more take the sheen off a little bit. Works good on clothing and armor and all sorts of cool ways to use the basilicanum. And so I just put some on my palette here, which you can see, and then just a couple drops. I'm not being super precise with this. It's kind of not necessary. A couple drops of that. You can see that I have not been doing a great job of cleaning my brushes, so I'm gonna need to clean this bad boy up. Might as well show you my cleaning solution while I'm here too. This is another hobby item that I would recommend. This Masters brush cleaner and preserver. The way that you use this is you just open it up and you just kind of swirl your brush around in it. This will restore, like, that brush. I don't know what, I must have been rushing around yesterday, but see how this is like a knife point. Because I'm an idiot and I didn't wash my brushes after I was done. But this stuff will, for all intents and purposes, like, fully restore a brush like that that's all gunked up to perfect without needing a sink. I don't have my basement is not finished yet, and that's where my hobby space is, so I don't have a sink down here at the moment. And so really all you need is the brush preserver and kind of a glass of semi-clean water. But I use these mason jars just so I can seal them, because I got kids running around and they're not allowed back here, but that doesn't mean they don't come back here. I just don't want them spilling a whole glass of water on my paint table. So that's pretty much it. This thing is basically good as new. This back, I'm just gonna wipe this down a little bit. And there we go. And then so you've got your basilicanum, a little bit of thinner, or just water. You can use water to kind of achieve the similar effect. Just thin it down, grab my miniature, and again, this is not difficult. You just plop it on there. I need a little more here. This is a big base. I'm going to paint the rim of the Abominations black, so I really don't care with these if I get, and in fact, it's just like the first coat of the base, basically, if I get it on there. But I was having some problems with the runners. I decided to paint their bases orange, and I was splashing this Basilicanum on there, and I'm using this Troll Slayer orange from Citadel, which seems to be a little translucent, and so it's actually, I've had to do like 3 coats of it to cover up the Basilicanum, which is actually really annoying. But you can see this is not, I'm not doing anything particularly fancy here. I'm just trying to keep it basically off of his feet and just spread it around and cover the whole thing. This is the easiest, laziest, least kind of skillful method of basing. People do all sorts of awesome stuff. I've said this before. And I am happy for them that they have the time to do that. I don't, so I do this. It's still a hell of a lot better than a flat base. And so that's what you end up with, is just this kind of, you know, grayish gravel looking stuff. And so that's it. So you just crank through your miniatures basically and just keep doing that. Just fill your brush up. I don't think I didn't get myself enough Basilicanum out to do these really big bases, but, and you just slap it around. You get the idea. And then when this is dry, I'll typically wait until it's dry. You don't really need to, I suppose, but I have enough other hobby stuff going on down here that it's also kind of not a problem to just wait. But once it's dry, then you paint the rim of the base. And these are all, like I said, this is kind of like a modular system. You don't have to do this. You could just quick shade the dudes and be done with it. To my mind, the only thing you actually have to do, honestly, if all you did was prime your miniatures, you'd still be in a better position than you were from the start. And you could prime this entire set in, you know, start to finish. And I mean, like, going to the box and getting the miniatures out and putting them onto a piece of cardboard or something. When I say start to finish, you could prime this entire set in 20 minutes. And it would still look better than it did the day you bought it. So you just make sure that you got everything, basically. And so I'm just getting in kind of near his foot there. And that's pretty much it. And these are huge bases, so it's considerably more time than it took me to do these. And that's your guy. Now, you might say to yourself, well, yeah, but that miniature doesn't look that great. It's all, look how shiny it is. That's because we're not done. The final step after we paint the base is to matte varnish this thing big time. And once you do that, it's going to knock that shine down, and you're really going to see the darkened recesses, and it's going to look awesome. I think it looks awesome, at least. I have a bunch that I finished already, and they look very good. And I'm happy with it. Again, this isn't a masterclass painting tutorial. This isn't going to get you beautiful miniatures that, you know, I honestly, though, I think if I were to resell this, I do think it would be more valuable than it was when I bought it, because I did put some work into it and some materials in the form of the quick shade and such. So I would price this up if I were going to sell it. But yeah, and then the final step is hilariously easy. You just get yourself a decent sized brush. Basically, this is a 6, And again, this is not a fancy brush. This is like something I got on Amazon in like a pack of 8 for like $10 or something like that. People spend, $20-$30 on a brush. I haven't found a need for it yet, but I'm also not a particularly good painter, so. And then you just go around the base. And that's it. I will show you the primary or the final step, which is the sealant. The sealant is going to knock down the glare, the shine, and it's going to protect the paint job so that it doesn't, or at least it won't be as likely to like chip if you drop it, or if you're putting it in a case and maybe it's not, like I'm not going to put these in foam. If I had painted them to a masterwork level, or probably had somebody else paint them to that level, then I would. But for these, I'm just going to throw them in. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to throw them in. So I have 2 default organizers that I go to every single time. I have the Stanley 25 and I have the DeWalt big kind of case. Typically I'll use the Stanley for components like cards and tokens and such, and I use the big DeWalt, heavy duty DeWalt cases for stuff like miniatures, especially when I have like 100 of them. And so these, while I'm happy with the paint job, I'm not particularly worried about it getting messed up. So once they're sealed up, they'll be fine. I'm just going to throw them in there. I mean, I'm not going to throw them. I'll still be careful, but I'm just going to put them into one of my DeWalt storage containers. So that's pretty much it. We just have one more step here, and that is applying the sealant, which I'm going to do next. And I'm going to put both these up at the same time, basically. But that will conclude our Zombicide painting tutorial. I hope somebody found this useful, and if not, honestly, it didn't really cost me anything because I'm doing this anyways. So I'm just taping it, and I get to talk to somebody, even if it's just to myself. So hope you enjoyed it. This is the Grumpy Meeple signing off.